Hi, I'm Deb Helfrich, and I'm the founder of #Wellbeing Philosophy, which has been born because of Biofield Tuning. This is a message to the entire Biofield Tuning family, and most especially Eileen, my sincere gratitude for helping me stay alive. I had lifelong morbid obesity and suffered from multiple chemical sensitivity most of my life. It had gotten really bad as I had hit my 40s, but then, unfortunately, in the Pacific Northwest, I moved into a moldy apartment, and I lost way over 80% of my ability to walk and talk. As a morbidly obese woman my whole life, I had no people. I had no family, no friends. I'd been utterly isolated due to the multiple chemical sensitivity. In the fall of 2018, while I was waiting for Being Supernatural from Joe Dispenza, also a great book, my library auto-suggested, while you're waiting, why not get Tuning the Human Biofield? What Biofield Tuning has brought to my body and brain is astounding. Body-wise, and while I came to tuning forks to stimulate my senses, to take away the trauma that I would experience when I smelled smoke or dryer sheets or things like that, and I was like, well, I'll replace one sense, I'll just use the tuning forks to stimulate my sound, my sense of hearing, and perhaps that can dial down the overwhelming need to fight or flee or turn into the raging #redheaded She-Hulk. The whole one-woman improv I've created, #redheaded She-Hulk, to talk about how all of the toxic pollution, carbon monoxide, and chemical scents turn me into a raging, incredible Hulk. Beyond the tip of the iceberg, wanting to become a performer now that I'm optimized, I'm also a degreed philosopher from Carnegie Mellon University. And I've been doing something extraordinary. I've been homeless for the last 4 months at my alma mater, trying to find an academic to support my work, which explains the electromagnetism of the human body through #Wellbeing Philosophy. So as a philosopher, I can initiate all kinds of Socratic dialogues about what we know to be true. And I want to do it on stage so that it's not locked up in only rich people who can pay for expensive life coaching or, all of the other options. Why not invent stand-up philosophy? Philosophy is the modality of thinking about how we think about everything. And none of the men ever thought about creating a category of thinking about how we think about being human directly, applicably, as in, why do we think we've got the best modern medicine at our disposal when we are experiencing ever-escalating burdens of chronic disease, mental unwellness, neurodivergency? All of these problems lead to a need for us to think about, why do we believe one thing when all of the data shows we are extremely unwell species? I need your help right now. Because of how optimized my brain and body has become, and on the body side, I've lost 150 pounds in the 15 months after turning 50. I do believe I have some really important ideas about using biofield tuning for people who are unwinding lifelong illnesses like morbid obesity, fibromyalgia, chronic fatigues, the depressions, the things like that. And I would like to share those with the community, but I need some financial support. And most importantly, I need a home. The reason I was morbidly obese since I was an infant, it was childhood neglect. And nobody intended to neglect me. But I lived in an area right around the Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania area was no touch in my entire community of origin. I was not touched for my first 17 years until I came to college and experienced other people and other cultures. Did I understand? But I couldn't even see it. It just didn't register. By the time you're 17, you're uncomfortable with touch to a very life-constraining degree. Now that I've understood this and I started going, I'm going to get to experience life, the pandemic locked me in, alone. I fought and fought and fought to earn a living. In fact, I went straight to the IONS conference, got to meet Eileen and have a tuning fork in my hand. Also tried to talk to Bruce Lipton and Lissa Rankin. The entire IONS team, from Rupert Sheldrake to everyone. I tried to say, I can bring philosophy to bear. Philosophies went extinct, and this is a really bad situation. I do believe that there is a place in the future where philosophers will become the new life coaches. I do believe that there is nothing but abundance in my future. But here I am, having been living in my car for 4 months with $5 to my name. So I'm appealing to the Biofield Tuning community for just a home, just a temporary living accommodation, somewhere I can drive to from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania with my dog, Zanzi. She's a very well-trained, extremely introverted dog. Both of us will just hibernate for a while. We will abide by pandemic 2-week, quarantine protocols, and then I'll just do what I need to do to find a patron who can support my work, who can understand I was and should have died a number of times because of the amount of dysfunction the mold created in my life as somebody utterly alone in the world. There is a great documentary on my YouTube channel, #RedheadedSheHulk, that really talks about how diligently I've tried to stay alive and how toxic and poisoned our society is. I want to save other people from going through this, and I want to contribute to bringing the soul back into science. Now, the reason we have this situation where our results don't compute with how much we think we know is because the Western thought tradition suffers from the Cartesian split. René Descartes, back in the 1600s, separated mind and body under pressure from the church, sent the soul off to the church. And this whole separation of church and state, well, that got us a culture of pedophilia. What we need to do, though, is separate state from commerce. Because right now, plantation capitalism is the root cause of absolutely all misery. Nothing about human civilization needs to be as it is. And we need to think about that clearly. I've created a really simple heuristic called life-centric thinking. First, do no harm to any molecule of life. Like the billionaire challenge where they pledge to give away 50% of their fortune or whatever. What if we start asking those billionaires to insert that clause into their corporate charter? First, do no harm to any molecule of life. This is how we change things. And how to get that to happen is stand on a stage and just talk about it. And I'm at exactly the point I have created hundreds of videos on YouTube. I don't even need a single person. I just need to stay alive. The people will come. The abundance is out there. I listened to the relationship with money session last night. And it's so funny because the portion where Eileen considers money a sentient being, absolutely. And in fact, again, I understand the concepts of blockchain and cryptocurrency so well that I can disrupt them. There's no need for... They're all excited because they can put a smidgen of abundance into the scarcity model of, money that we have. Well, money is abundance. You think about, and I just came from the Seattle area, I'm very willing to go back, the Puget Sound region and all of the various Indian tribes, and their source of money would have been shells. Shells as a token of exchange are abundance. There's always more shells. And you can start finding some shells more fancy. You can rank them by size. They can have different things. But so long as you don't build an assembly line, there's always plenty of money for the things that you need. Because what would you have bought with shells? Well, of course, some food here and there. Also, maybe a strategic location on a bluff with a great view. This is where I want to set up my teepee for a while. But then you'd get bored and want to go find another view. The hunter-gatherer lifestyle. If we build that in our modern world, it'd be nirvana. And we can do that through getting sound and the absolute truth that we are electromagnetic beings circulating into the public consciousness as quickly as possible. I'm one of the people who can do that in a very rare and unique way, and I'm asking for somebody to invest in me with some accommodations, with a sense of belonging. I would like somebody who's interested in the cosmology of consciousness, who might want to, contribute a little bit to the project of helping me become known as the she Einstein of consciousness. Because I can use E=mc² to talk this all through. I also consider myself the she Sherlock of human energy, potential, and well-being. It's always the men. They take all of that great intelligence and lock it up into solving murders, helping out dead people, dealing with criminals. I want to keep people alive, help them thrive, help them be full of their own potential. In over 2.25 years is when I had the burst of Kundalini energy that signaled that I would learn what it feels like to live in a lean body, that I would be able to then propel myself to do whatever I want in the world. And not a single one of hundreds, very close to 1,000 outreaches, to become clients, to become patrons, to give me a job, to earn some money, it's all failed. Simply because I am neurocomplex and somebody who... I spent my career as a software consultant, being the bridge between HR and IT. I got earned really the big bucks for this communication skill. And what it did was it prepared me to be a main bridge between the current scientific community and the evolution of consciousness community. And in a certain way, only a philosopher can do that. Can constantly come back where people start locking up in rigidity and going, it can't be like that. And go, let's look at premises. Let's think about this logically. Let's sort this out. Are we even talking about the same thing? The skills of philosophy are how we get past this civilizational impasse of this either-or thinking. And we turn it into if, then, therefore. We always ask another question. When we get locked into either or, we can ask one more question. The chicken or the egg? This is one of the foundational heuristics that I use to talk about evolutionary logic. It is astounding to me that 80% of adults who ask that question, most are they don't really want to answer it. They think it can't be answered. We've set up the question to make it seem like it can't be answered. And it's a very simple answer. Which one, the chicken or the egg, came first? 80% of adults in America will say chicken. And the other 20% are like, they literally are like unable to function. They're like, I don't know what it is. Well, what's the definition of an egg? A womb for a bird or a reptile or a fish. So the egg had to come first. Well, where'd the first egg come from? Yes, ask that question. There's your extra question. Where did the first egg come from? And science knows the answer. We've known the answer for quite some time. Longer than we've known the answer to, how to make an atom bomb. We believe that stuff. The first chicken egg came from a reptile. And it wasn't just a whole chicken. It was a reptile with a appendage it didn't know what to do with. Over time, it got 2 appendages. One day, one gecko fell out of a tree. And, sorry, my dog is licking because she's bored because we've lived in a car for 4 months. And all of a sudden, my sincere, incredible embodied intelligence couldn't take it anymore. I'm so worried about my dog. She doesn't deserve this. Neither one of us really deserve what plantation capitalism has in store for us. This is my work. This sort of confessional, this sort of being present to everything that's happening and synthesizing all of it together so that we start to see the complexity of this world a lot more clearly. My potential is vast. Simply because it is the job of a philosopher to think universally. And I have the receipts of my life working to think about all 7.8 billion humans. I care about Africa. I, in fact, have a movie I created. As, again, we've all experienced when you start to get this extra energy, your creativity. And my movie is very much about uniting extremes, about demonstrating racial harmony, about celebrating the vast potential of Africans to lead this into the future. A different future, one that's not hyper-industrialized, one that isn't hyper-consumptive, one that isn't so dead to our natures. We can allow our African cousins to truly invent a better world. This is one of the top things of #Wellbeing Philosophy. The ABCs are anti-racism, bioelectricity. The philosophical hypothesis of bioelectricity is how I explain the cosmology of the tuning forks and why it works and how we can all start using it because we get the theory. Is we all know that, of course, trained practitioners help with all of the really acute, difficult things, and but we can also, there's a vast terrain of do-it-yourself well-being responsibility. That's where well-being philosophy aims to create theories and help the world think more clearly about human energy, potential, and well-being. So again, this has been Deb Helfrich. I hope you've enjoyed my tour through my neurocomplexity, and that you consider, if you have a spare room, you have some ability, I do need some place to live where I can be with somebody who I can talk about these things with every now and again. I will be a perfect housemate. I will diligently work to figure out how to launch this career, and I'll be considering your support and investment in my future, and my future so bright. I just want to contribute in my own way. And that we've built a civilization where so few humans get to contribute in their own way. That is something that I absolutely intend to change. Thank you so much for watching. This has been Deb Helfrich. You can go to my website to find out how to contact me. It's debhelfrich.squarespace.com. That will again give you another viewpoint into my sincerity and the breadth and depth of what I'm on the verge of creating, thanks to help from the Biofield Tuning community. I'm be so honored to share the powerful truth of Eileen's work, to bring many more people to the practitioners who I just have so much love and respect for. Because ultimately, healing everyone is how we build nirvana on earth. And as we know, healing is not this thing, this chemical thing. It's a thing about helping people be present to just exactly who they are. The healing is really taking away the societal constructs that say that we are limited, that we are only the categories in which this flawed system puts us in. Taking away all of that faulty layer of paradigm. That's my life work. And I'm going to excel at it. Thank you again. I appreciate so much every bit of energy that helps me along this way. So if you feel unable to offer me a room but could send me a Target gift card, anything, it's astounding how much neglect and lack I've survived through, to be quite honest. And I know that so many people who are living lives of quiet desperation, it's because we've got all this focus on the trauma, and there should be, but neglect, especially after, again, the world wars, the generations that are now hitting mid-age. I mean, we're about to have an epidemic of middle-aged people just turning into zombies from all of the electrosmog, from all of the chemicals, because we've got the pressures. We still got all of our elders we're caring for with Alzheimer's, and then none of our kids can really figure out how to get their feet underneath them. Our civilization is really at a crucial turning point, and Biofield Tuning is the modality that I believe wholeheartedly can bring a radical change to the species. So helping me helps you, helps Eileen, helps everyone who is a healer, helps everyone who is a world evolver. Thank you for allowing me to do my philosophizing, for letting me feel that I may be reaching even just one person who will finally see my life is worth saving. And all I want to do once I get saved is save others. We know this archetype. Martha Beck calls us wayfinders. In fact, I've reached out to Martha Beck. I've reached out to Bruce Lipton. I've reached out so many creative ways. I mean, there's a whole documentary on the creativity that I've employed to save my own life. And it's just like, there's never anyone around. I'm just out here in the wilderness, Shenley Park, enjoying being in the green. But it is very much as if I've lived 52 years of my life on this planet by myself. It's time to change that. Time to change that. And this is, as Eileen so often says, looking to self for the root of the problem doesn't really get anywhere. And in my case, there were some intergenetics, but it truly is because the neglect came so early. I wasn't breastfed. I lived a very isolated life. And that gave me so much time, so much opportunity. And I used it wisely. It would have really, created serial killers and things like that. But this is what's so, I came to terms with all of it so quickly. And then it's been CTSD, current trauma stress disorder, that I'm just not getting through to people. And it is, again, that I'm trying to connect both my greatness and my potential and heal a little trauma along the way. Stay present to some really truthful emotions that have to arise, or else I'm really never going to move past being neglected. So, thank you again to the Biofield Tuning family for letting me feel that I'm not alone in the world. That in itself may change my reality. But I'm also willing to do this, to be as honest and present to the full catastrophe and share how that works, what it looks like, model, demonstrate, dealing with the challenging difficulties of childhood neglect, of adult neglect, and becoming the person you were always born to be. debhalfrich.squarespace.com is my website. And reach out in any way, shape, or form you want to.